NASA's live stream suddenly went silent. What they observed altered everything. It was intended to be a routine sky survey. A deep space telescope was calmly scanning the stars from its location over the Pacific Ocean. Researchers were overseeing the information as usual. Then an entity appeared. It was rapid, unusual, and nearby. Moments afterward, NASA's live broadcast turned black. There was no declaration, no fault notification, simply quietness. Shortly after, the recording disappeared, erased from servers, records, backups, as though it never occurred. Then a reliable voice emerged. Physicist Brian Cox came forward. His statements were straightforward and alarming. This could overhaul all our previous understandings of deep space. The entity was subsequently called Oumuamua, alluding to the enigmatic interstellar guest Oumuamua detected in 2017. However, this one did not merely pass by. It halted. It pivoted. It transmitted a signal. A signal composed of prime numbers. The type of code that smart societies might employ to declare, "We're here." Then an even odder event transpired. The Voyager probe, sent out in the 1970s, not designed to accept or dispatch messages of this nature, replied. It dispatched a countersignal. Encrypted, structured, not random noise. This is not imaginary tale. It is occurring. Cox is not labeling this as contact. He is terming it differently. Judgment. If you are perusing this, you are now involved in the narrative. So, what distinguishes Oumuamua? Let's dissect it. The entity did not behave like a comet or asteroid. Initially, it appeared comparable, elongated, slender, rotating gradually. But then the irregularity occurred. It altered direction. It decelerated. It stopped precisely in space. That does not occur naturally. No apparent engines, no exhaust, no gas release, just motion, deliberate motion. Cox described it as non-ballistic motion, the sort of movement that only takes place when something is being directed. NASA's deep space antennas detected micro-vibrations from the entity. Rhythmic, not haphazard. Possibly a type of internal mechanism operating. Along with those vibrations came peculiar heat patterns not originating from the sun. They throbbed, indicating the entity might be controlling its temperature, perhaps even concealing itself. And this was not merely subdued. It was managed, pristine, intentional. This was not a fragment of rock. This was a message. And then, as if a switch was activated, NASA terminated everything. No data, no clarifications. Observatories ceased updating records. Servers became inaccessible. That is when individuals truly began inquiring, what are we not being informed? A pattern is appearing. This is not the initial irregularity, but it is the first that seems like a reply. Signals have been rejected previously. Malfunctions, solar disturbances. But now, with this entity stationed in geosynchronous orbit, lingering quietly above Earth, something seems distinct. Not traversing, not departing, remaining, and perhaps observing. Brian Cox states, "We've crossed a line, not of discovery, but of recognition. The sky hasn't changed. The stars are still where they've always been. But the silence now, it feels like someone or something is listening. And we just triggered a reply. It might follow rules, just not ours. Maybe it's not breaking the laws of physics. Maybe it's following rules we simply haven't discovered yet." But just as the mystery deepened, something else happened. Right before NASA cut the feed, a pattern, not static, not interference. Pulses timed, measured, deliberate light signals beamed from Oumuamua straight toward Earth's atmosphere. At first, they looked like random flickers. Maybe sunlight bouncing off its surface. But then a sequence emerged. 1, 3, 5, 7, 11. Prime numbers. In the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. This is huge. Prime numbers are seen as the universal language patterns any intelligent life form would recognize. Math doesn't change across galaxies. Carl Sagan once said, if we ever received a message from beyond, it would start with primes. And just before everything went black, that's exactly what Earth received. A message in the silence. What's more, it wasn't just one telescope that caught it. Independent observatories in Chile and South Africa reported the same thing. A beam of light aimed not at deep space, but at us. Instruments detected electromagnetic pulses. Magnetometers picked up vibrations in Earth's upper atmosphere. No damage, no threat, just presence. It felt less like contact and more like a ping, a test, a handshake, and then silence. Right as the pulse reached Earth, the live stream crashed. Not gradually, instantly. The footage vanished. Servers wiped, access restricted. It was as if someone didn't want the world to see what came next. An unnamed researcher later admitted, "It's not what we saw that unnerved us. It's what we felt. It felt deliberate. A familiar shape from the past." If Oumuamua seems familiar, there's a reason. Back in 2017, scientists tracking the skies from Hawaii spotted something equally strange. They named it Oumuamua, Hawaiian for a messenger from afar arriving first. It wasn't from our solar system. It moved fast, spun oddly, and reflected light in unnatural ways. Even more bizarre, it accelerated on its own. No gravity assist, no collision, just motion, like something was guiding it. Harvard's Avi Loeb stunned the scientific world when he proposed it could be a light sail, a kind of alien technology using solar radiation to steer. But before it could be studied further, Oumuamua was gone. Out of range and out of reach. But this time it stayed. Oumuamua is eerily similar. Same shape, same spin, same enigma. But unlike Oumuamua, this one didn't fly past. It paused. It changed course. It looked back. And just before the signal, it pulsed light toward Earth in a mathematical rhythm. This isn't just a coincidence. Some believe Oumuamua isn't a visitor at all, but something more subtle. A probe, a sensor, a watcher. Maybe it was waiting for something, some condition to be met. Maybe we just triggered it. Brian Cox has a new theory. Now leading physicists like Brian Cox are hinting at a new possibility. This might not be first contact. It might be first reaction, not a ship, not a threat, a test. And if we just passed it, what happens next? Are we being watched? It might not be sending messages. It might not even be moving. According to physicist Brian Cox, it could be doing something far more profound. Listening, watching, waiting. In his words, we may have triggered an interstellar tripwire. Imagine this. What if highly advanced civilizations placed silent devices across space not to visit or talk but to observe? Like cosmic sentinels that stay dormant until a certain kind of intelligence notices them. Not ships, not probes, sensors. And what if the moment we noticed Oumuamua, it noticed us back? This might not be first contact. This might be the first acknowledgement. Some scientists believe we're not being ignored, we're being evaluated. Oumuamua might be part of a vast passive network designed to monitor developing civilizations. It doesn't come to us. It waits for us to come to it. And when we do, that's when the test begins. This theory ties into the famous Fermi paradox. If the universe is full of life, where is everyone? Maybe they've been here the whole time, just quiet. Until now. The trigger observation. The most unsettling part. It only reacted once we started watching it too closely. And what happened next shocked everyone. Right after scientists identified its unusual behavior. The object pulsed light directly toward Earth. A coded signal. Not an attack, not noise, but something structured. That wasn't the end. Because shortly after on April 7th, Earth itself responded. Earth's magnetic field glitched. On that day, something rippled through our planet's magnetic field. Not a flare, not solar interference. A short sharp burst, just 0.72 seconds long that registered worldwide. Every single magnetometer across the globe picked it up at the exact same time. Scientists at CERN described it as the cleanest anomaly we've ever recorded. It wasn't natural. It wasn't chaotic. It had structure, rhythm, and a kind of hidden geometry. Almost like it was intentional. Voyager 1 felt it, too. And then something even stranger happened. Voyager 1, drifting at the far edge of our solar system, nearly 14 billion miles away, also picked up the pulse. Not as an echo, not as a bounce, as if it heard the same thing Earth did. And then it responded. It sent a ping, a data burst completely outside of its normal programming. No one expected it. No one understands it. But one thing is clear. Whatever we saw out there saw us, too. And now everything is different. Voyager just spoke, but not in our voice. NASA engineers were stunned. The signal didn't come from Voyager's systems. It was like something or someone used it like a walkie-talkie. Let that sink in. A pulse from Earth echoed 14 billion miles away. Voyager 1, drifting in deep space since 1977, suddenly responded with a message no one expected. And no one understands. This wasn't just strange, it changed the game. Because if that connection was real, we're no longer dealing with isolated events. We're looking at something bigger. A network, a system, maybe even a test, sensor, signal, response. A researcher at CERN summed it up best. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's a hidden communication layer, and it just turned on. So, the question now is this. What did Voyager actually send and who or what was listening? Because the answer might reveal if we've just received a message or a warning. Voyager wasn't built for this. Launched over 45 years ago, Voyager 1 was designed for one-way science. Its instruments can't detect Earth's magnetic field. They weren't meant to respond to signals like the April 7th anomaly. But right after that global magnetic pulse, Voyager sent something back. NASA picked up a clear transmission through the Deep Space Network. But this wasn't routine telemetry. It was a custom signal using a protocol Voyager was never programmed with. A whisper from the edge of space. Someone inside JPL Jet Propulsion Lab reportedly said it felt like the probe had been softly taken over. The message included a structured data packet, encrypted, complex, and clearly not noise. Inside it was strange but familiar patterns, prime number sequences, logarithmic spirals, binary waveforms, not a spoken language, but definitely designed intelligently like a compressed file meant to be unlocked, not just read. Then NASA went silent. As soon as that signal came through, Voyager's public dashboard went dark. Access was restricted. Logs were sealed. Researchers were told to stop digging. One team member even admitted, "We were told not to ask questions and definitely not to decode it." Just like that, humanity's most distant machine became something else. Not a probe, a relay point. But for what exactly? That's the question that now keeps scientists and maybe even world governments awake at night. Because if something used Voyager to reply, that means it was listening. And if it's listening, it might already be answering. What else is out there waiting? If one hidden object just activated, how many more are already out there silent and watching? That's the question no one wanted to ask until now. Oumuamua might not be alone. It could be just one piece of something far bigger. A quiet system scattered across space unnoticed until now. When Voyager sent back that impossible signal, it didn't spark celebration inside NASA. It triggered something else entirely. Lockdown. Dashboards went dark. Access to public systems vanished. Even internal data started disappearing. The Deep Space Network, a tool used by scientists worldwide to monitor signals from space, suddenly went into maintenance mode. But no one bought that excuse. Then came the leak. A memo quietly slipped out of Jet Propulsion Lab. It revealed what many had feared. Oumuamua's updated flight path had been classified. Not temporarily hidden. Not under scientific review. Classified. That's extremely rare. Even military satellites have partial public data. But this was something else. A mysterious object from deep space now locked behind walls of secrecy. No official statements, no press conferences, just silence. The sky started acting strange. As NASA pulled back, amateur astronomers tried to fill the gap. Some aimed home telescopes, others tapped university equipment. But one by one, they began reporting bizarre issues. Equipment glitches, lens warping, sudden thermal interference. One observer in Chile wrote, "My scope overheats every time I point it at those coordinates. Never seen that before." Another in Finland lost power only while trying to track the object. Not dangerous, just disruptive, as if something didn't want them looking. Brian Cox spoke up carefully on a BBC science panel. Cox warned, "Science depends on transparency. When visibility starts disappearing, that's when you know something bigger is happening." He wasn't alarmist, but he wasn't casual either. It was clear behind the scenes something had shifted, and for the first time in a long time, scientists weren't being allowed to explain what they were seeing. A bigger pattern emerges. So, what if Oumuamua isn't a one-off anomaly? What if it's part of a network? Not ships, not invaders, but observation nodes planted across our solar system, hidden in plain sight. Some may be drifting in deep space. Others might be tucked into asteroid belts, riding comets, or parked near moons. Their job to stay silent until triggered. The hidden network theory. It's a chilling new concept making waves among scientists. A web of dormant probes seeded by an unknown intelligence. Each node sits quietly scanning, listening, measuring, and when one gets noticed, like Oumuamua, it activates. This isn't science fiction. There are clues. In 1973, a Soviet probe near Venus picked up an unexplained magnetic hum. In 1989, Galileo flew past an asteroid that briefly changed its reflectivity. In 2003, Cassini recorded a split-second magnetic flip above Saturn, lasting only 0.7 seconds, all written off, all forgotten. But now they're being revisited under a new lens. Because what if those weren't random glitches? What if they were brief moments when something ancient and hidden blinked awake? They're looking again and finding clues. They missed those old anomalies, the ones buried in dusty archives. Scientists are digging them back up, and suddenly they're not looking so random. They might have been part of something bigger, something we weren't ready to see. What if they were tests? If a network like this exists, silent, widespread, and incredibly sensitive, then everything we thought we knew about. We're not just floating through a quiet cosmos. We're moving through a watched zone. Our solar system might not be our backyard. It might be more like a testing ground. And we might not be explorers. We might be the experiment. One physicist said it best. We didn't find it. We stumbled into it. And now we've